Alright, here we'll be using z-scores to calculate the probability of somebody scoring above 1100, below a 900, and between 900 and 1000, well 100, 1100 on the SAT. So here we have our information. SAT scores for 1.4 million students in a recent graduating class was roughly normal, with a mean of 1026 and a standard deviation of 209. And we want to find the probability. Let's start out with number one, to find the probability of picking somebody that scored over 1100. Alright, the first thing you need to do is calculate a z-score. Now a z-score, we have a formula because for that. So z will be equal to x minus x bar over standard deviation. Now remember, x, okay, is whatever we're randomly picking. X bars are the average or the mean. Okay, so for this one we're looking at 1100 minus the 1026, and we're going to divide all that by 209 to come up with our z-score. Now for this one we're using a table that has 2 decimal places, so we're going to round our z-score to 2 decimal places. So our z-score is 0.35. Alright, now if we have to go look it up in the table value, but if you look this up, you should come up with 0.6368. Alright, now what we have to be careful of is this is above. If we had our little diagram of our chart here, okay, we're somewhere up here. Well, the 0.6368 represents all of this. So everything back that way. Well, we don't want that. What we want is everything above that and above. So we know that the whole thing's equal to 1, so what we're going to do is take the 0.6368 and subtract it from 1. So 1 minus 0.6368. So what we end up with is a probability here of 0.3632. So that's our probability of picking somebody that scored above 1100. Now again, that number right there comes from this. So that's our probability of picking somebody that scored above 1100. Alright, now let's look at the probability of picking somebody below 900. Now when you have below, I'll go through and explain that in a second. But let's go ahead and find our z-score. So our z-score for this one would be the 900 minus 1026 all divided by 209. Okay, so we end up with negative 0.60 for our z-score. So let's go look up the table value of this. Alright, our table value is 0.2743. Now, since we're looking at below, okay, let's draw a little diagram, kind of think about that. Okay, we're somewhere down here, and we want everything this way. Well, that's what the table value gives us, is everything from that point back. So we don't have to subtract anything. That's our final answer. So the probability of picking somebody that scored below 900 is 2743. Okay, now for the last one we have the probability of picking somebody that scored between 900 and 1100. We would need the z-scores, which we've already calculated. We calculated the z-scores for both of these. So our z-score from 1100 was 0.35. Okay, and so our table value is the 6368 for that probability. Okay, and then if we did the same thing for the 900. So the 900, our z-score was negative 0.60. Okay, and then we went and looked up our table value, and we found that to be 2743. Now to find the probability of picking somebody that fell between those two ranges, we just take the difference. And remember, we want a positive number, so it's always the bigger number, and then we subtract the smaller number from it. Alright, so when we take the difference between those two numbers, we end up with a probability of 0.3625. So the probability of picking somebody between 900 and 1100 is almost the same as picking somebody that scored above 1100. But that's how we use z-scores to figure out probability when we're not exactly on a standard deviation away like we were in some of the first examples. But remember, you have to find these values from the table. Now, I didn't refer back to the table on these. If you need help with the table, you can either ask or refer back to some of the other videos.